Hello, my dudes. Welcome back to Previously Gifted. I don't know, I feel like I said dudes weirdly there. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, the intro dance is, of course, happening as it always does. I think I naturally have just developed this kind of like actual consistency to the dance. It's like a drum and then a little spin and like a little bit of this. So yeah, hope you enjoy that. Today, I want to talk about friendship and adult friendships and loneliness. That's going to be the central topic of today's podcast, but I'm going to start with some icebreakers because I'm testing out a new format idea. And then, of course, just as last time, I'm going to give you my list of movies from the last week or so and tell you what I thought about them because I've been watching a lot of stuff. So I asked you guys on Instagram to give me some icebreaker questions, and these are a few that I got. I just feel like it's easier to dive in to the podcast with something, a little light. Just break that freaking ice. So someone asked, best birthday I've ever had. And this is a tough question, but it's relevant because my birthday is coming up. My birthday is on October 5th. And so you're very welcome to tell me happy birthday, to post in your story, to tweet me. That makes me sound like such a pretentious YouTuber. Like, oh, I can't wait for you to post your happy birthday messages to me. When really it's like, okay, first of all, let's talk about the evolution of how people address birthdays, because this is a whole thing. Do you remember first of all, Facebook, writing on your friend's wall? That used to be a thing. You could get hundreds and hundreds of posts on your birthday, and it was lovely. We loved the attention. Of course, the birthday calls and texts from closer friends and family are a staple. But then we moved on to Instagram, and there was a trend where like you'd do a feed post and you'd make this great collage of your whole friendship's history, and that was always nice because like as the receiver, you get to see all the different people that you're important to. And actually this is related to friendships, so that's good. But so that I always felt like I loved those posts. Maybe it's the fact that my love language is, what the fuck? What is it? Talking? No, that's not it. Words of affirmation. That's what it's called. So I feel like with the birthday posts always came a really mushy caption about how much I mean to you and our friendship's history. So I used to love those. And I did used to measure who's a close friend based on who makes me a collage birthday post. And then, of course, when the carousel feature came to Instagram, then it was like, oh, cool, now you can just post, 10 pictures or so. So, and I used to do all my birthday posts for my closest friends as well, and that was really fun. And then with stories on Instagram, that's kind of replaced the typical birthday thing, because, did we get a little bit tired of seeing everyone else's birthday post for everyone they know? It's like, yeah. Like, if you're posting a post on your feed every time you know someone with a birthday, I mean, that's just a lot, Like, we don't want to see it, but also we like it for ourselves. So it's perhaps a little hypocritical. So then stories became a natural thing because it's like, oh, it's only kind of temporary. It doesn't mess with your feed. And like you can post silly pictures or videos. It is a good format for birthday shout outs. And also, yeah, it doesn't disturb anyone's newsfeed, I guess, if birthday messages are disturbing to you. So anyway, I don't know. I'm about to turn 25, October 5th. 10/5/95, turning 25 in this year of 2020. Wow, numbers. So I'm a little bit nervous for my birthday because what if nobody gives me a post? So if you're listening to this, please God, give me a birthday post. Specifically, if you are an actual friend of mine in person. I'm just laughing because I don't think almost anyone who knows me in person actually listens to this podcast. If you do, let me know, but whatever. All I'm saying is I'm feeling a little bit of the insecurity that I will be talking about in this podcast episode. But your question was not any of this, so I don't know why I got into this. Best birthday you've ever had. when brainstorming this, because I wanted to have an answer, I couldn't think of any. I don't think I've ever had any standout birthdays. I feel like I've always been that person who's like, birthdays, like, they're whatever. Like, you know, I just want to hang out with a couple friends, maybe go to dinner, which is still true. I like to have a low-key birthday. I just want a few people around, because that's how I am in terms of friendships. I like to have my close group. I don't need a big surprise party with everyone I know invited. That would probably overwhelm me, actually. But, so what? Like, I can definitely think of my worst birthday, so I will share that with you. My worst birthday was for my 5th grade birthday. I was turning 11, and I believe it was in November, the actual party, because my best friend at the time had a birthday in December, and mine was in October, and we wanted to have a combo birthday party. So our party was a month off from each of our birthdays. Love that. Totally 5th grade. We love it. So it was at my friend's house. We invited a bunch of people, including my crush from elementary school, and our, I would say, frenemy at that point, because I already kind of had some beef with her. But this girl shows up, and there was a whole confrontation, because this is a lot, and I don't want to get into it. And if she's listening, which she's not, hi, it's okay now, but yes, this was major beef when we were 11, okay? At least on my end. Essentially, this girl showed up with I don't know if it was like a cast or something, but she said that she was like injured in some way, and I didn't believe her. I thought she was trying to take attention away from our party, and so I think I called her out on it. I don't know what I said, but everyone ended up yelling at me, and then I was crying in my friend's garage, waiting for my dad to pick me up to take me home early from my own party. So that was the worst birthday I've had, and that actually caused a whole bunch of drama for the rest of 5th grade. Wow, a tumultuous year. Honestly, my most dramatic year, I think. So, yeah, that's a memory. That's probably why I do not want to try the whole, like, let's invite everyone we know thing, because the first time it happened, it, you know, didn't really turn out well. Also, I would say, like, when I was a kid, like, literal baby to, like, probably 7, my go-to was Chuck E. Cheese. And if you have never experienced the joy of like a 90s or early 2000s Chuck E. Cheese birthday, I'm sorry. But essentially, the animatronics from the 90s are burned into my memory, and also they're on so many of our home videos because all of our birthdays were there. Me and my siblings and my uncle, who's around our age, we were always at Chuck E. Cheese, and it was the best. So those were good birthdays. I was totally down. Literally eat some pizza, play some games, and mess around with the animatronic band. I almost wish I could go to Chuck E. Cheese, but it's 2020, we're in a pandemic. A lot of Chuck E. Cheeses are probably bankrupt, and also I'm turning 25 and I don't have children, so it would probably be weird, I don't know. Yeah, so in terms of your actual question, I took so long to avoid answering this. I'm gonna say I've had a lot of good birthdays, solid birthdays, but nothing really comes to mind in terms of like best birthday. So I'm gonna leave it at that. And in terms of my expectations for this year, I mean, absolutely rock bottom. That's kind of predictable, right? Like at this point in this year, if you have expectations for like a great birthday, I don't know what to tell you. You know, like it's okay. It's fine for us to have an average day. My parents both just had their birthdays. They're late September birthdays. So I feel like I've been in the birthday mode. It's Libra season. It's good. I'm just not expecting a lot. Also though, my sister is gonna have her baby soon. Like that baby could be born on my birthday, which I told her I hope doesn't happen because I selfishly don't want to share my birthday with my first nephew. So as much as I'm excited for that child to come into the world, don't steal my birthday, please. Also, I found out years ago that October 5th was the most common birthday at that time. I don't know if it's still true now. I'm sure it's changed. But yeah, the one time I was like, I wonder what the most common birthday is. Of course it was mine. Of course. So shouts out to all my other Libras. Shouts out to my October 5th babies if you're listening. I hope we have a good birthday. What am I hoping for my birthday? I think it's on a Monday. I think it's a week from today that I'm recording this, yes. So my expectations are low. I think I want good food. There's a place that has vegan cheesecake that I would like to get some cheesecake from, and maybe some takeout and watch a movie. But that's pretty standard. So yeah, I'm excited. I mean, 25, baby. One cool thing is I actually have a time capsule video for myself to watch. You'll see probably posted on my second channel, but I get to watch that on my 25th birthday because that's when my past self addressed it to my future self. So really excited about that. Cool. Next question. That was quite an icebreaker. Thank you. Someone asked if I was ever part of any fandoms, TBT to the Tumblr days. And I've actually thought about this a lot recently, because I just cannot relate to a lot of people's like awkward teenage or like middle school years. Also, I've been watching the show Pen 15 because someone in one of my classes mentioned it, and I was like, oh, I think I've heard of that show, but I've never seen it. It's on Hulu, and it's basically these like 30-something-year-old actresses playing themselves as middle schoolers, like 13 years old, in the year 2000. So even though I was only 5 in the year 2000, I think I can still relate to a lot of the stuff in the show, and also it's just a great, awkward, uncomfortable show. Anyway, but yeah, it's made me think, like, I don't think I was definitely awkward and weird in middle school, because literally everyone is, but sorry if you heard me. I think I like burped as I breathed in. I don't know how that happens. If you didn't hear it, disregard. I was definitely weird in some ways in middle school, but I think I was also kind of cool in middle school, dare I say. I think, like, you know, I had a lot of guy friends. Like, my friend group was very co-ed, so like some people's middle school experiences, like being uncomfortable around the opposite sex or whoever you're attracted to. Of course I had that, but like, I was cool. I was a cool 12-year-old. That's saying a lot. I also joked for a long time that I peaked in 8th grade because that's when I won the best personality superlative. And also I was president of my middle school. So was I slightly popular in a completely arbitrary way? And probably no one else was invested in this election, but I still use it as, you know, proof of my popularity, which literally means less than nothing today. Yes. Was I also president of my elementary school in 5th grade when I had that notorious fight? Yes. Were a lot of the people involved in the drama also in student council with me, and it caused a lot of strife? Yes. Are those questions that anyone else asked? No. Back to your question. No, I was never part of any fandoms. I've seen so many people, you know, talk about, you know, writing fanfic or loving One Direction or loving whatever, loving different shows. And I was on Tumblr, but I think that was around when I was like a freshman in high school. So I was older, and I just wasn't on the fandom part of Tumblr. Like, I'd see stuff about like Doctor Who pop up, but like that was never what I was personally interested in. So yeah, weirdly, I was never part of any fandoms, and I cannot really relate to any of that, like young stan dedicating my life to this show or artist or person or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. What was I doing when I was in middle school? Walking around with my friends unsupervised with like $3 in my pocket to try to entertain me for a whole day. That was pretty much it. And my last question, my last icebreaker. Someone asked me 2 things that I think I'm very good at. And I just wanted to talk about something. I saw a few comments that were saying like that I'm too hard on myself, and I'm trying to accept that. I do agree. I know that I've been very, not even in like a funny way, but sometimes like self-deprecating. I think I am very hard on myself, and I think I've been harder on myself even as I've done better on YouTube, for example. I feel like I'm harder on myself because my standards keep changing, and I keep aiming for higher and higher quality stuff, and Yeah, I am hard on myself for sure. So I thought this was a good question because I'm trying to intentionally be a little more confident in myself and not put myself down so much. So we'll see if I can do it. One thing I think I'm pretty good at is helping people fix problems or make like a plan. So like part of this is me not being controlling, but like, yeah, like I want to help people so much that I'm like, hi, let me do this for you. Tell me the details and I will fix this for you. That's super vague, but I do this a lot, especially with my little brother, whether it's like financial stuff and I'm like, oh, give me the information. I'll make you a budget. I'll make you a plan, or like other questions that he has. Like, I just feel like I am a big sister. So part of that is just my natural responsibility in this role. But yeah, I do think I am good at that. And I think that's a part of my personality that I like, in that the people that I'm very close to, I want to help you in whatever ways I can. And again, not to like be mean to myself, but I feel like that's not a part of my personality that a lot of people necessarily see, or maybe not that I show or talk about a lot, is like my compassionate side, or like, just like, I don't know what you people see out of all the things that I post online. So I don't know if that's true, but yeah, I'm a people fixer, and hopefully that's a good thing, a net good thing. I'm trying to not be like meddling. Like, I don't want to be like, let me control everything. But I also am like, hi, I'm witnessing you having a challenge, or maybe you're struggling in a way. May I offer my services? May I help you? Thanks. And then the second thing, it wasn't very easy for me to think of a second thing that I think I'm very good at, which again, maybe I haven't been doing this enough. I haven't been reflecting and being nice to myself and complimenting myself enough, because when this question is raised, nothing comes to mind. But I generally just wrote YouTube. So I think I can admit to myself pretty affirmatively, just using numbers as validation, external validation for my success. On one hand helps, because that's like, it's almost more objective. It's not just that I'm saying I'm good at YouTube, but I'm like, look at all these people who also like me and say that I do good stuff. That counts. But also I want to remind you that external validation is not necessary to prove to yourself or anyone that you are good at something, because a lot of people are underrated, or a lot of people are just waiting to be discovered, specifically in the context of YouTube or art or online stuff or something. But yeah, so that's a weird contradiction to feel. But also I think when I watch my videos, especially like some of my favorite videos I've ever made, I rewatch them and I'm like, damn, this is good stuff. So I think even just relying solely on my own validation to myself, I can admit I am good at this. I am very good at this. Making content, writing scripts, researching, even this podcast. It's definitely probably an acquired taste, but I enjoy making it, and there are people who enjoy listening to it. And if that's you listening right now, first of all, thank you. Also, let me just say, would you please take a moment to leave a review if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts? Leave a review on iTunes. I don't know how that works, but on the Apple Podcast app on this show's page, you can leave a review. Please leave a 5-star review. I love, speaking of external validation, I love asking for podcast reviews, but then also being like, please God, do not leave me anything less than a 5-star review. Please don't honestly critique this podcast. Please just give me fluffy, nice compliments. I'm like, I want your review, but do I want an honest, harsh one? Not necessarily. Again, the majority of my reviews are very kind, and they're 5 stars, as they should be. But also, you're fully entitled to be honest. But I will say, do the lower star reviews with some criticism hurt my feelings? Yes, but that's fine, because that's the name of the game, So I would like you to leave a review if you would would not mind. What am I saying? Okay, the ice is broken. My computer just fell asleep for a moment, so I'm going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to chat about friendship. Okay? See you in a second. And we're back. So yes, this week's theme is loneliness and friendship, especially in the time of COVID, but also just generally as an adult or whatever phase of life you're in. I used to make a lot more videos about my struggles making friends or feeling like I didn't have friends. That was especially strong while I was in New Orleans because I just felt very lonely and isolated. And yes, to an extent, I definitely isolated myself. So I will talk about kind of the things that I do to kind of sabotage my pursuit of friendships. But anyway, obviously during quarantine, especially this year, has been very, very lonely for a lot of people. And so I just wanted to talk about that. So yeah, this is something that's been on my mind a lot generally. I feel very nostalgic a lot because I was very lucky to have a really solid group of friends, literally from middle school, like age 12, I met a lot of my best friends. We were friends all through the end of high school. And then, you know, we're still friends today, and I consider them the people that I'm closest to, but I also feel conflicted because I'm so bad at keeping up with people. Like, I, don't call people to just chat, and I don't text people regularly. I'm not in the hometown group chat because they're mostly all still local, or at least still in California. So I usually just feel kind of more left out and sad if I'm in the group chat rather than feeling like I'm a part of the discussion. But sometimes it is nice to be in the group chat just to see the memes and to be able to pop in and say hello. But anyway, I have a lot of feelings about that. A lot of my friends are from Southern California, as I am, and they've gone to college, and a lot of them have already graduated from mostly UCs, and they've done really well. And I believe I'm one of the only people from our core friend group of, 12 people that has moved far away and been far away for almost 6 years now, which is so wild. So I moved to New Orleans, and then I studied abroad in France, and then I moved to New York, and that's where I've been for the last, 3.5 years. And yeah, so sometimes I just feel left out naturally because I'm so far away, and it's just normal that when you are far away from people, you aren't going to feel as connected, especially when you're not talking regularly in other forms. I'll reply to my friends' Instagram stories, but then I'm replying to an Instagram story or commenting on their picture is not to me, it's not enough to maintain a friendship. And I always think of The Sims as an analogy. When you're playing The Sims, you have to interact with people a certain number of times, or you have to put in certain efforts to maintain the friendship. So I get scared, and I'm like, dude, if we were Sims, this friendship would be nothing. It would have dwindled to zero. I haven't played The Sims in a while, so I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, so I don't know. I just feel this kind of vague nostalgia and sadness in feeling like I've gone away and I've missed out on so many years of memories, and when they've had rare get-togethers, because it's not like my core friend group see each other all the time. They probably only see each other a few times a year, but I'm usually not around for those moments because I'm across the country, and I'm not always able to fly to California to be there when they happen to get together. So yeah, just feeling a little sad. And also, this is somewhat embarrassing. I've had this weird kind of recurring dream, or I guess a recurring theme within my dreams, basically where my hometown best friends all reveal that they don't like me, they've never liked me, and something like that. And so clearly that is a reflection of my own insecurities. And every time I wake up from one of those kind of dreams, I'm just like, cool, nice, awesome. And I can obviously know, like rationally know that that's not true, that these people do care about me. But yeah, I don't know. There's definitely a level of like, yeah, just feeling left out and like the sadness of drifting away just in time. Like, you know, like there's still the friends where when I go home and we see each other, it's great, it's not awkward, we click back into place. But I guess I'm just sad. I'm just a little sad. And I think the root of my sadness is that I've realized I don't have, like, I literally thought about this in terms of like MySpace best friends. your top 8 on MySpace, TBT. Like, I feel like growing up, I used to be very aware, and it was very clear, especially when you're a kid in school, like, who is your best friend? Who's your number 1? Who's your number 2 best friend? Like, who's your top 3 best friends? And I don't know why I thought about this recently, but I was like, obviously Nathan is a best friend. He's my partner. He's definitely the person that I'm closest to. But then I'm like, who's my friend? Like, who's my best friend right now? And it's like, I don't know who to say that is based on like the actual characteristics of a best friend. And I think it was a Lena Norms video that I was watching recently, but she was talking about, I hope that it was Lena's video. I think so. She was talking about the need for like different friend labels, or okay, maybe it wasn't Lena. I don't know. I'm sorry. The person was talking about the need for different friend labels. I might be mixing up 2 videos from 2 different people. Like, you need to call an acquaintance because I'm very quick to call anyone I've even talked to, like through Twitter or something, a friend. And I feel like maybe part of that is my desperation to want to say I have a friend. Wow, sad. But also, you know, like if I like someone, I'm like, oh, cool, you're my friend. You're my online friend. But I'm like, to be honest, you're an online acquaintance. And then maybe if we meet once or twice in person, you're still a bit of an acquaintance. We have been acquainted, but at what point do you really become friends? And then after a long time, when do you become best friends? And I'm conflicted because I've had a lot of people over the past 6 years since I first left home who have become good friends, but I don't know if I've created any new best friends, or like I hesitate to call someone a best friend because that feels like very vulnerable, and it feels weird for me to want to call someone my best friend if they don't fit into that very narrow category of what I'm assuming a best friend is. And also it's like you want it to be a requited best friendship. Like, if someone is my best friend, I want to be their best friend. I want us to each be each other's number 1s. I've always been very territorial about my best friends, especially like through my adolescence. And I would always be so jealous if my best friend had another best friend that I wasn't friends with. And I would hate to see them refer to each other as best friends because I would just get jealous about it. And so I'm like coping with all of that weirdness. And yeah, mostly I'm just wondering, like, I know I can't compare adult friendships to the standard of my best friends from my hometown. Again, those people that I knew during my formative years of like 12 to 18. Like, I can't compare that type of relationship where it's like before you even have a job, before anyone has any responsibilities other than school and homework. So it's like, you know, when you're young, your best friends are the people that you hang out with every day. You see them multiple times at school. It's assumed you'll hang out after school. You have sleepovers like multiple times a week, and they're just constantly with you, and it's just always known. You don't even have to ask that you'll be hanging out and whatever, and like you know everything about them, and like there is no updating each other because you're constantly together. And like I think I just miss that. I miss that level of closeness. And so in adult friendships, I don't think I've had like a new adult best friendship. Like I never really made any like best friends in college. Again, I've made friends throughout my college journey, and a lot of people that I really admire and love. love. I'm like, ugh, do I use the word love? Wow, yes, there are people that I love that I've met through college. I'm second guessing everything because, again, if anyone who knows me personally and is one of my real life friends is listening, please don't question how much I care about you. If anything, I love you a lot, and I'm self-conscious and insecure and scared that you don't care about me as much. So anyway, yeah. Yeah, so for like I don't have that college friend group that people, you know, it's a romanticized thing, and maybe it's another like stereotype of the typical college experience that most people actually don't have. But again, I know that, but I also feel sad that I don't have that. I'm like, oh, like, you know, people, again, it's like based on what you see in movies, but like that close-knit group of friends that met through college, and you bond through all the like the weirdness of adjusting to being like an independent adult as like a student, and then post-grad life, and like I feel like I'm missing out on having that type of friendship because I don't think I've had that for the last few years. And yeah, like trying to think about what an adult friendship is meant to be and what the expectations should be, because clearly, like, when you're an adult, you're busy, you have your job and you have work to do, and you might have family and dependents and partners and, you know, just a lot of different responsibilities. So I think even just finding the time to be able to hang out is hard. I think that's a big challenge in terms of making and maintaining adult friendships. And then it's like, where do you meet people? You know, the classic question. I've been asking this in videos for a long time. Like, how do you make new adult friendships? Like, you can try to go like the Bumble BFF route, but I feel like that's a little bit awkward, and it's not, how likely is that to spark a genuine friendship and connection? I guess it's about as likely as using dating apps for dating. Like, you know, you could be lucky and meet someone great on the first time, or you could use the apps for forever and find a lot of cool, decent people, but nobody that you really click with. I don't know. So I've never tried like friendship apps, but it's something I've considered, especially living in New York. Like, I've had so many viewers reach out and say, hey, I live in the city, I'd love to meet up. And like, I would also love to. And the few people that I have met, I've really enjoyed hanging out with. But again, it's like, this is where my introversion comes in, because it's like, that's the thing. It's like, I can't complain about not being able to meet people because I don't have a traditional job. So I don't have like coworkers. So that's one avenue that's not going to happen. And then in school, while we were actually going there in person, I never really interacted with anyone. So like, I wasn't going to make friends on campus as a commuter. And then I do have this very unique community of people who already know me and like me in a parasocial way that I don't know, but it's likely that we could get along because like we probably have shared interests. If you watch me and listen to me, you know, like we could probably geek out about internet stuff and media or whatever, maybe studying abroad in France or something like that. So I have this unique group of people that I could potentially tap into to try to pursue these friendships. And I almost feel selfish for not doing that more often. But then comes in my next struggle in making and keeping friends, which is, being introverted, being a person who feels very comfortable in their apartment with their partner. And like, it's hard for me to push myself outside of that. It's hard to make plans, not bail on them. and then I you know, you hang out with people and you enjoy it. But like, again, to like build that friendship, especially a strong, deep friendship, it takes time and it takes dedication. And like, you've got to hang out more than once or twice to really have that connection or to see if you click in that deep of a way. So then it's like, I don't know, it just feels almost like a mountain of something that I have to do that's like, just seems really difficult. But I know it's worth it. Like, obviously it's worth it to like put in effort for people that you get along with. But I think my introversion and like, I don't want to call myself lazy, but there is like whatever level of me just being like, oh, I'd rather stay home. It's so much easier just to stay home. It's easy to just stay home with my boyfriend, make dinner, and like not disrupt my day. And again, this was all pre-COVID even. I will say I was getting good at like putting myself out there more. Like directly right before COVID was when I was finally getting in the groove of things. I had a group of people where we would host game night and we would play games, and we did that like twice. And I had people that I would meet up and do like political stuff with, and like go to like watch parties to like watch the debates. And it was cool to meet people who may have known me from YouTube, but we had a shared interest in politics or like leftist issues. And so like that was cool, and that made me feel connected to the city a little bit more. And then COVID hit. And, you know, obviously, as I said, almost everyone is experiencing a lot of loneliness and isolation, and I'm very lucky that I at least live with my partner and that I haven't been actually alone. So for any of you who have been alone or, again, are otherwise feeling isolated, I totally feel for you. So I've been lucky, and I have human contact with a person who means a lot to me, and I'm very grateful for that. But also, I have been missing friendships, and like I always question who I am in terms of like, because you know, you're influenced by the people that you hang out with, and like, you know, I think I've mentioned this in podcasts or videos a lot, but that classic saying of, you know, you are the 5 people closest to you type of thing. And I've thought like, my social circle, in terms of COVID social distancing, it's great. It's small. It's literally Nathan and I. Like there's nobody else in my regular social circle that I see. So that's good, again, in terms of COVID, but in terms of like who I am as a person and like bouncing off of other people, it's just me and Nathan. And then I guess the only other people I'm influenced by are like the YouTubers that I watch, which is a very weird parasocial thing. So like, if I don't have other people in person to interact with, am I being influenced by the people that I watch and feeling like those are my friends, or like they're the replacement for real life in-person friendships? And yeah, so I've been questioning a lot of that, because I always wonder like, who am I? Classic question. Or like, who am I in different situations and circumstances? Because you know that you're different around different people. You're different when you're at home comfortable with your partner versus when you're with family, or when you're with your best friends, or when you're with like your casual friends. So like, I feel like I've only really been able to experience this like one version of myself. Or maybe there's 3. I'm the me who's at home with Nathan. I'm the me who's on Zoom with my classes, and I say nothing in my courses, which is essentially nothing. I am a shell of a person in a small window on an app called Zoom. That is me. And then I'm me as in YouTuber influencer Tiffany Ferg, which that's a whole other basket of worms to get into. Who is that person? Obviously, it's me. What form of me is it? I don't know. So yeah, that's basically what I've been thinking a lot about. And it's tough. I mean, I even struggle to complain a bit about my quarantine or lockdown situation, because again, I'm very lucky. I am home a lot, but that's obviously a privilege right now. And I'm, you know, I kind of get annoyed. Side note. I want to acknowledge my privilege, but I don't want to be one of those people who's constantly talking about their privilege to like an exhaustive extent. It's like the Jamila thing. If you saw it recently, someone had commented on a picture that she has really nice skin. And she commented this like long paragraph of like, first of all, it's a privilege because I'm wealthy and I've had access to this and that and healthcare and good food and blah, blah, blah. Also, you know, like, again, is it good to acknowledge your privilege? And especially as a celebrity who's wealthy and has access to those things, is it good to mention that? Yes. But also in that context of someone just sending you a compliment on Instagram and you like, well, Jamila going off in that way, it was interesting. And it made me think about how people can bring up their privilege or make it clear that they're aware of their privilege without being like so so much about it. Because again, it's like, I don't know. So let me know if that makes any sense. But yes. Future me cutting in to say people didn't just have a problem with Jamila like acknowledging her privilege. It was like, she also like called out this person who tweeted her, who literally had a few hundred followers, did not blur out his username, and called him essentially a miserable troll and told him to go to therapy because he like pointed out that it was kind of annoying, or that he thought it was annoying how she was talking about her good skin privilege. Anyway, I think that's the big problem that people had with her. But yeah, if you want to look it up, it's all over Twitter or whatever. Interesting internet moments. I always feel like, you know, I am in this habit, which is good, of acknowledging and voicing my privilege, but also I don't want to be too annoying with it, I guess. Is there an extent to which it gets annoying? Some people might not be annoyed, and some people might be annoyed just at the word privilege. So I'm lucky that I have a job and that my livelihood has not been disturbed by COVID. I'm very lucky to have an online job. I'm lucky to be a YouTuber. I'm lucky that I can function and do my classes online. I'm lucky to have Wi-Fi and computers and, you know, I have food. So being stuck in my apartment is not bad. It's honestly what I would do even if COVID were not a thing. I would still mainly be at home most of the time. So no real complaints other than I think it absolutely is valid to voice your struggles during COVID. A lot of people are having lots of different struggles. It's totally valid to talk about how painful it is to be lonely, and how hard it is to not see the people that you love, and how hard it is to have, you know, those elements of normalcy that we used to take for granted, to not have those anymore. Yeah, I would never want to like say that people's emotional and mental well-being is not also important right now. Though of course, rightfully, there is an emphasis on physical health and well-being and like your material surroundings. So that's that. It's not something I've been really stressed about in terms of like friendships, but it is something that it comes across my mind every once in a while. And I think, I look forward to a day when it'll be safe to interact with people again. I really look forward to the chance to get to know new people. But then I'm also like, knowing my past self and knowing my habits, would I even actually go and take advantage of it in the future? Would I be like, oh, I've learned from this experience and I've seen what I've taken for granted. I'm gonna go meet up with a new person every week. I'm gonna pursue those friendships even though I have to put in effort, you know? I don't know. That's fun. I miss the person that I am with friends. I miss seeing that side of myself. I miss getting to know people in that way. Obviously, there are just lots of joys that come with the connections that we get from other people. So yeah, that's what I've been thinking about. I'm gonna take a break and then we'll come back and we will talk about my recent watches. That's not a good way to introduce the segment. Should I think of a name for this? TV and movie consumption? We'll see. My media list. No, that's not good. We'll see. I'll think of one, but basically I'm going to tell you the movies and TV that I've watched and give you ratings on how I felt about them. See you in a sec. And we're back. One thing that I realized I forgot to mention, which is on my list here, regarding friendships and loneliness, is I talked a little bit about drifting and being scared that your friendships just naturally drift apart. Obviously, people grow, they change. If you literally physically move away, that usually causes a friendship to drift to some extent. And yeah, it's normal. But I wanted to talk about friend breakups because I've heard a lot of people talk about this issue. And sometimes I've gotten asked like advice questions about how to deal with this. But I actually don't think I've really experienced a friend breakup in that like very clear sense. At least not like as in the last like 10 years. I feel like all of my friendships, I don't know, I can't even think of any that I would necessarily say have ended. So it's hard to say that like I've had a friend break up with anyone, but I certainly have experienced that drifting. So I guess mine are more of like a very slow, I can't pronounce that. Imperceptible? A slow, like a candle slowly burning out over a period of years, but then it never really dies. It's just there flickering weakly. That's how my friendships usually start to dissipate. I don't know. I've never had that really, like, something major happens and we break up, we go from being very close to like nothing. I don't think I've really ever experienced that. Again, like not in the last 10 years or so. Definitely happened in 5th grade, but we don't have to get into that again. So yeah, if any of you have experiences about friend breakups and you'd like to share or vent about it in the comments, feel free. But yeah, I don't really have much to say, so I don't know why I brought it up actually, but that's fine. Let's talk about things that I've watched. TV. The last episode I said that I was currently watching something and that I was going to finish it, and I did. And that was the show Ratched. Nurse Ratched, starring Sarah Paulson. Very, very good. Who is the producer? Ryan Murphy? Let me Google that. Sorry for all the noises. I always tell myself, don't sit and Google things during the podcast because you can hear everything. But then I do it again. Yes, Ryan Murphy, executive producer and program creator. I'm a big fan of Ryan Murphy. I know some people have beef with his stuff, but I think I'm a fan. It's probably not the most unpopular opinion because, like, he's a very successful TV screenwriter, director, and producer. He has made Nip Tuck, didn't know that. Glee, did know that. I was never into Glee, though. So again, that's another thing I can't really relate to when people talk about, like, TBT, Glee, iconic, memorable middle school things. I was not into Glee. But maybe I would enjoy it if I went back and watched it now. American Horror Story, yes, big fan. Sarah Paulson collaborations, absolutely. Scream Queens, I think I watched a bit of that. Pose as well? Wow, there are a lot. I haven't seen Pose, but I heard about it in my intro to LGBTQ studies, so maybe I should watch Pose. The Politician, I did watch and I did enjoy. And yeah, now I'm making all the connections that are very Ryan Murphy, so I should have known. And also Ratched. Didn't he also make Hollywood? Yeah. I really enjoyed Hollywood as well. That came out this year. That feels like 100 years ago. Yes, I enjoyed Hollywood. We don't have to get into that. But I know some people had problems with it because I read reviews on it afterward. And, you know, people didn't really like the, I guess you could say, like, rewriting of history in terms of being like, what if Hollywood had been more progressive and less racist? Or like, what if one show or movie could change it all if people just did it, you know? I don't know. I would have to think a lot more to have a hot take on that topic. But overall, as a show, watching it, I enjoyed Hollywood. So this show came out, Ratched, and I really liked it. Again, who doesn't love Sarah Paulson? She is so talented. She is wonderful. I generally can say I'm a fan of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, you know. I've seen the movie once or twice, and I think I read the book in AP Lit in high school, if I'm remembering correctly. So Nurse Ratched is a key character from that novel and later film adaptation, and this series, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if it would like really be close to, you know, the actual concept of the book, and it's not. It doesn't involve any of the other characters, I believe. But trying to expand on Nurse Ratched and be like, oh, what could be her background? What could be this other kind of universe version of her? I find that interesting. I'm looking at the ratings now. It has a 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb and a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. I haven't really heard anyone talking about it on Twitter or anything, so I don't know what the popular takes are, but generally, I enjoyed it, okay? I liked it. And again, we love Sarah Paulson. We love her. I enjoyed it. And I hope there's a season 2 because they definitely set it up for that. And then on a very different note, the next show, I could actually cry. Great British Bake Off is back. I mean, this is a popular opinion, very. This is the most wholesome and relaxing show that exists, especially in terms of the reality food, cooking, baking competition shows. Great British Bake Off is just such a gem. It is so comforting to watch, and I didn't realize how much I needed it during this time until I finally got to see it. I know there was a celebrity version made maybe earlier this year, and I wish I had been able to see it. I haven't seen it yet. I think I'd have to look on a VPN and try to find it somewhere. All I know is Louis Theroux was on it, and I love Louis Theroux, so I would love to see him in Bake Off. I also think that the American Netflix name for it is like the Great British Baking Show, but I watch, or I guess I subscribe to the actual British name, which is Great British Bake Off. It's Bake Off, baby. Yeah, we just watched the first episode. It's coming out one episode at a time on Fridays on Netflix, and so we finally got to watch it, and it was so nice. The whole time it was on, I was like, I don't want this to end. I need it to last forever. And then I remembered I could watch old seasons and probably still enjoy it just as much. So I'm very excited. That's really gonna make my Friday nights even better than they already are. It's Chipotle night every week, and this is part of our new tradition, is enjoying Great British Bake Off for, the next 10, 12 weeks. Oh, I'm so excited. But I'm also like, why isn't it Friday again? I need it. Hurry up. Give me more episodes. Thank you. How do you guys feel about when shows do this kind of staggered release? I mean, it's essentially similar to TV, because I think Great British Bake Off is still posted on TV. What am I saying? I think it's still like a TV show primarily in Britain, so in the UK, So anyway, I don't watch like any TV shows that come out like that. I only watch things on streaming platforms that sometimes mirror their TV releases. So I don't know what my point is, but I, on one hand, hate it, obviously, because I want to see every episode immediately, and I would ideally like to binge it in 1 or 2 nights, but also I do appreciate being able to enjoy something slowly and, to make a metaphor related to Bake Off. It's like taking one sweet, savory... That's totally contradictory. It's like savoring one bite at a time and really chewing it and like enjoying the flavors and the density. Never mind. I don't know what I'm saying. All I'm saying is it is kind of nice to be forced to very slowly consume something, especially in this binge society in terms of media that we watch. That's what I'm saying. I'm excited. I'm excited for Bake Off, period. Finally, let's get into the films that I have watched. I have maybe 8 movies to share this week, and I have them ranked again from least fave to favorite. So first we have Get Me Roger Stone, 2 stars. It is a 2017 documentary about dirty liar Roger Stone, who has worked with Trump. I put quotations around dirty liar. I can't remember the exact phrasing, but like he's known as this like dirty lying person in terms of like his work in politics and like lobbying, I think, and like political consulting. So definitely not quotations because it's untrue, because it is certainly true. He does appear to actually be quite a dirty liar. 2 stars because honestly, it's painful for me to watch anything like focused on Trump. It just like, it's so sickening to me and so disturbing that like, I just don't enjoy watching it. And that's primarily how I rate my movies and things that I watch, is like, did I enjoy this? And like, no, I didn't. Also, I will say the documentary to me was a little bit boring. I don't know. I wasn't intrigued. It was a required viewing for one of my classes, so I did watch it, but I was not very invested. Learned a teeny bit about Roger Stone, but I'm glad that's over. Next film, Christopher Strong, 2 stars. This is a 1933 film directed by Dorothy Arzner, starring Katharine Hepburn. This was actually her second film ever. And 2 stars. I mean, I feel like that's accurate. Essentially, the plot is that Katharine Hepburn plays this independent woman who is a pilot, and she's very, like, in some ways she's very modern and kind of like the image of a progressive or feminist woman, especially in the 30s. But she falls for a married man who at the beginning is well known for the fact that he's very loyal to his wife. So the film is very messy. It's like a very melodramatic movie. I wasn't very into it. The ending, I will not spoil for you, even though this film is like 90 years old. But if you want to look up the ending, the ending's not great. It's not ideal. It's not the way you would like things to end. But that's all I'll say about that. 2 stars. Would not watch again, but somewhat interesting for the context, I guess. Next film, The Social Dilemma. 3 stars. This is a 2020 documentary. A lot of people have been talking about it. A lot of people have messaged me asking if I'll make a video or a response to it, which I've considered. It's still a possibility. On one hand, I'm like, oh, it brings up a lot of interesting things, but also I'm like, ugh, it's almost like exhausting to think about. Which is kind of how I feel every time I start the daunting task of writing a video. I'm like, it's fascinating, but do I really want to get into all of that? It's got to be the right place, right time. So maybe you'll see it eventually, probably after the videos or the movies not being talked about anymore. So yeah, it's essentially about, it starts with the framing of ex-tech workers, Silicon Valley people who were like central figures in building a lot of the major internet tools and apps that we know and love and hate a little bit, and how they participated in the shittiness, essentially, and now regret it because they've realized that the technology is out of our hands and it's advancing at such an exponential rate that we really can't control it anymore and we can't take it back. How do we rectify the harm that social media causes in terms of like mental health, and how do we, hi Nathan.
Hey, sorry.
That's okay. How do we begin to, stop people from being so addicted to social media when it was designed to be addictive, and like people are people, and now being involved on social media is like not necessary, but like it's very, very hard to abstain from being active on social media, whether that's for just personal reasons, you just want to be in the know, you want to keep up with things, you use it for the news, you don't want to miss out, but also like professionally and in terms of like branding, we feel compelled to keep up presences online. So for all of these different reasons and the actual addictive, nature of the technologies, it's hard to stop. And now it's like this, it is the monster that Dr. Frankenstein created. So it's not like the most, it's not the most original take, because obviously we've heard a lot of these tech people, Silicon Valley people, say that like, oh, I don't let my own kids have a cell phone, or I don't let my kids have social media until they're 16. And so it's like, oh, okay, we've got the people who have created this technology doing this and like protecting their own families and selves from it, but then they're like, hey, here, give iPads and phones to your kids when they're 2 years old. So whatever, it's been said. But I will say I did enjoy the dramatization aspect of the film. Some people probably didn't. When it first started, I didn't like the family, and like they're trying to like use each kid as an example, and then you've got the like older teenage sister who's like, she's like, you should get off social media and like, quit your phone and use a flip phone. I don't know if she said that, but she's the contrarian. And then you've got the younger kids who are more addicted for different reasons. At first I didn't like that, but My favorite part are the three guys who like are in the Facebook newsfeed algorithm essentially, and they're the ones who decide like which ads to show you and when, and they're the ones who are behind the scenes like pulling the strings and sending you notifications to try to get you back in. So I thought that like visualization was kind of entertaining, and it, you know, made me think a lot about I guess how these things work and how effective they are. So when I was watching this, was like, okay, I really need to be serious. I really need to cut down my screen time because it is atrocious. I should cut down on my social media. You know, I'm gonna do it. And then like 10 minutes after watching the movie, I was, you know, back scrolling through Twitter and Instagram mindlessly. But I did actually commit to finally officially deleting my Facebook, because I meant to do that like a long time ago, and then like I realized it was tied up in a lot of things, and I had it deactivated for a long time, but I was like, I finally just want it deleted. I want it gone. So I've started that process, and it's kind of weird. It's kind of hard to say goodbye. Like, even though I already saved my photos, I downloaded them all, it's just a little weird to like disappear from a platform that's been a big part of my life. Like, Facebook was a big part of my life, like through middle school and high school. So it's kind of weird, but also there's no point in me having it, and I would like to be rid of it. It would make me feel lighter. It would make me feel like one less tech thing that's like invaded my mind, even though I haven't been using Facebook regularly in a long time. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I guess at the end, the interviewees were asked, like, do you have any suggestions for people? Like, what should people do? Side note, like, some of them have said that now they work in, like, they're trying to fight against Silicon Valley and all the giants, like Apple, Google, Instagram, Facebook. They're trying to force Silicon Valley to be more ethical, which is a big challenge, and also very hard. It's like a very nebulous concept. Like, what is ethical social media? What is ethical tech? And definitely there are some very important points and arguments to be made in terms of that. And I'd rather somebody be out there fighting for ethical tech than have no one care to do it. But like, how effective will that be? Especially when you're dealing with, like, these corporations are so powerful and so influential that it's like, that's the problem. It's like they're too big to fail. I don't know if they've been called that, like the banks, but they're definitely too big to control and like too big to regulate, because again, they're everywhere in our politics and finances, and they're so wrapped up in so many elements of our individual lives, but also our society. Like, who takes on Google and how? I don't know. Good questions. But anyway, at the end of the film, a lot of them had suggested one good thing to do is to turn off your push notifications. And that I can agree with 100%. I've had my notifications turned off for, I think, years. Like, I would never ever want Instagram notifications or like Twitter notifications. I don't need anything else pushing me to come back. That's what it is. It's a push notification. It's a little push. They're trying to push you to click that app. Hello, I already click the app a million times a day. I don't need more things telling me, oh, someone just tweeted this. Oh, someone followed you. Someone sent you a DM. No, I already check it too much on my own time, my own free will. I don't need reminders, okay? But really, you know, obviously to take off those notifications is a good idea, because again, you're likely to still be checking the apps, but at least you're not gonna be like, ding, like you're not gonna have to deal with that. Also, my phone is always on silent. Like, I don't even like the sound of vibrations. Like, if someone around me has a phone that's vibrating every few minutes, it bothers me so much, because I've been conditioned to, like, you know, react to that sound. Somebody in psychology, please explain what I'm trying to say. Some sort of conditioning. We're conditioned to react to these sounds and these alerts and vibrations, and I just don't like it. I would prefer my phone to be silent, and I want as minimal notifications as possible. Though I have noticed some apps, like the ones I've downloaded more recently, have been sneaking in because I forgot to turn the notifications off. So I think I need to go back through and like turn off notifications for everything other than like completely essential things. But like, what's even essential? What do I really need a notification for? I guess maybe like a like a food delivery app. I would probably need that notification just to like know when my food's on the way. But other than that, like, I'm gonna be checking my apps, so like I don't need a notification, thank you. Oh, I forgot that I was in the middle of this list of movies. Got way too deep into that. Anyway, that was The Social Dilemma, 3 stars. Generally, I enjoyed it. I think it is thought-provoking, but it's also not the most mind-blowing and original documentary because I do think a lot about social media just in like my work and also my studies. And I recently took a class on digital privacy, so a lot of these things have been on my mind lately, so it wasn't like completely new to me, but I think it still is important and worth a watch, I guess. Next up on my list, Badlands, 3.5 stars. This is a 1973 crime drama directed by Terrence Malick, starring Martin Sheen, who I got lost in a Wikipedia wormhole because Martin Sheen is Charlie Sheen's father, but also, who's the guy? The guy from The Breakfast Club is Charlie Sheen's brother, and I didn't know that, and they have a different last name, but Charlie and Martin go by Sheen because I guess it's more Americanized and it's more easy for show business, apparently. I don't know. But got sucked into a little wormhole looking at their whole family tree. In that film, because it's 1973, Martin Sheen is very young, and his character is supposed to be like a very overtly James, I just stuttered saying that, James Dean type of dude, because the film was made in the 70s, but it's kind of set in the 50s, vaguely. And then we have Sissy Spacek, who, if you've ever seen Carrie, is a queen, and she's definitely got that naturally kind of spooky vibe. She's got something about her, and she plays to that well in this film. By the way, very disturbing that in this film, Sissy Spacek's character is like, oh, Nathan's walking very gently to not squeak the floors, carrying an entire jug of orange juice to our room. Enjoy it. Get that vitamin C. Anyway, Sissy Spacek's character in this film is like a teenager, like maybe 15, and Martin Sheen is a full-grown man. So that's gross, but that's just one element of this crime drama that is disturbing and off-putting, but I guess it's somewhat a part of the narrative that's important. So this is like obviously a very Bonnie and Clyde-esque film. I think it took some inspiration from that movie, and also the real-life Bonnie and Clyde. It's like, you know, the classic runaway couple doing crime, killing people, and it's got a very dreamy atmosphere. Sissy Spacek does the narrations, and it's interesting. I enjoyed it. You know, I enjoyed learning the background information for my class because this was a required watch as well. I think only one movie on this list was not required, and I'll mention that next. So next is Enola Holmes, 3.5 stars. This was not required by any of my classes, but I just watched it last weekend. This is a 2020 release, and it is starring the great Millie Bobby Brown, Henry Cavill as Sherlock Holmes, Sam Claflin, and Helena Bonham Carter. So I remember seeing the promo for this, and I just thought it looked like a really fun adventure movie. Again, just something I can just turn my brain off and enjoy, which it was, but there's also an added element of a cute teenage romance, which I'm a sucker for. You know, it's cute, it's nice, so I enjoyed that. And generally my big takeaway was that Millie Bobby Brown is just extremely talented, and I'm very excited to see everything that she continues to do in her career because she is great, and I love her performances. And it was cool to see all of these native Brits, I guess. You know, I don't know why, like, why is that interesting? I'm like, wow, this movie, like, these are all actual genuine British accents, English accents, whatever type of accents. Don't yell at me if I get that wrong. I always flippantly say, like, or I flippantly am like, oh, British, UK, English, they're all the same, which I know they're not, but whatever. I like that the accents are genuine. Like, nobody's putting on an accent. We don't have Americans coming in and trying to do a little bit of a Sherlock Holmes, Enola Holmes. I'm sorry. You know I had to do it, and I'm sorry. Let's take a break, and then I will talk about my last 3 films. See you in a sec. And we're back. Let's get into these last few films of the week. We have McCabe and Mrs. Miller, 4 stars. This is a 1971 Western, but it's also an anti-Western. Interesting. It's directed by Robert Altman. And I don't know, it's always funny looking back on what I've rated something, because I'm like, did I really like rate that amount of stars? Like, is that over, under selling it? But I'm like, okay, in terms of the actual film, if I had just watched this and knew none of the background, I probably would have rated it like 2 stars. But learning about the process and doing the readings for my class that were related to this film definitely added my appreciation for it. So I guess Robert Altman's movies are a lot about like realism. Like, that's one of his kind of strategies in the films that he has created. I don't think I've seen other Altman films, so I can't really speak to that firsthand. But this movie's realism comes from partially that they filmed this in Canada, and they like actually cleared like forest and built a town as the set for this film. So they were filming the movie as the town was actually being built, and like the extras were the actual carpenters who were just dressed in period outfits, because this is supposed to be like I guess early 1800s question mark. So yeah, they're like, the way that the film was actually put together and created was very fluid. There's a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of improvisation. Also, the script was continuously changed while the movie was being shot. So like Altman and the actors didn't know exactly what to expect for the movie entirely. And, you know, a day before shooting would just decide, okay, this will be the next scene, and then we'll go this direction. So that's somewhat interesting. And yeah, I would recommend it. It is beautifully shot. There were a lot of really, really beautiful landscapes. I like the cinematography. I don't know if you'd enjoy it, but if you're into 70s film and or Westerns or anti-Westerns, then you might dig it. I don't know. Okay, my last 2 films. The Shining, 5 stars. Okay, this was my first time ever watching the entirety of The Shining, which is shocking. It is the 1980 classic horror film directed by Stanley Kubrick, starring Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall. The Shining is so much a part of the cultural lexicon. Is that even the right way to say that phrase? I don't know. It's such a part of like pop culture, and it's been alluded to so many times, and the classic scenes have been played, and like, so even if you haven't seen the full Shining, like I hadn't before this, there was so much of the film that I already knew just because it's been discussed and referenced so many times. So like, you know, the twins, come play with us, Danny, and the like blood rushing down the hallway, and the here's Johnny, like all of that is very, very popular, and it's been made fun of, but it's also been celebrated in media so much since. So yeah, I was excited to watch the whole thing. I don't know why I had never watched the whole thing prior to this, but it just never happened. So it was a good time to do it. I had to write a paper on this film, so I was paying extra close attention, taking notes as I watched, and I did not do well writing the paper. I don't think I've ever turned in a paper late until this paper. It was a pretty short one, but I had to focus on the music in The Shining, which I can admit or recognize is impressive and interesting, but I don't know how to vocalize that. I don't know how to write about music. I have no education about music or music theory. So I did the readings for this assignment, but I was like, I don't know how to like explain this. Again, like I can read it and somewhat understand what they're saying, but I don't know how to write about how the music was used. So I got stressed. I had to do a presentation on Zoom for my class, and the presentation went all right. I decided to focus on the Native American motifs in the film to see if there's any like particular significance other than just general plot points. And also I wanted to explore some fan conspiracy theories because there's a documentary called Room 237 that was, I think, put out in like 2012 that focuses on The Shining theories and like what is the movie really about, or like why is this in there? And so like it's kind of a classic example of people reading very, very deeply into every detail of the film and like making these theories. So it's kind of interesting. I haven't actually seen the documentary, so I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't think it's that great, but yes, I did my little presentation. I got through that. Woo! Only a little bit of shaky voice because, as we know, I suffer from, I don't know what it's called. Why can't I do why can't I do any kind of presentation or public speaking when I don't think I'm nervous, but clearly I am because I get this shaky voice that sounds like I'm gonna cry, which, by the way, is different than this current voice that you might be hearing. This is when I speak for over an hour during quarantine, my voice goes and I almost lose it. Oh God, is anyone else struggling with this? Like, if I have a phone call or a long like Zoom meeting, like my voice is gone. And obviously I'm not speaking a lot anymore and I haven't spoken much in months. So every time I even film a video, it's like I'm exhausted by the end because it's hard to talk and my voice is not used to being used as much. So that's that. I gave The Shining 5 stars. 5 stars. Oh yes, and about my paper. I turned it in a day late, or I guess like 12 hours late, because I finally got to the point. I was writing it at like midnight, the night before it was due, and I was like, I'm just simply not gonna get this. Like, it's not clicking for me. I just need to wait. I didn't know what my professor's policy on late papers was, because it's not in the syllabus. So I was like, she might not accept this at all, or she might deduct 10% of the grade. I don't know. But I was like, I just need to accept it. And also I'm in my I'm in my final semester of my degree, and I've gotten to the point where there's no point in stressing myself out and making myself cry over a paper that's worth 20% of my grade. I'll get it done when I can and turn in my best. And my best does not have to be perfect. So yeah, I had a conflicted moment where I was like, but what about my GPA? What if this paper makes me get a B in this class? And then I'm like, I'm almost 25 years old. I'm not planning on going to grad school. So why does my college GPA matter? And then the previously gifted part of my brain is like, oh, because you still put so much validation in your GPA as a numeric value of your intelligence or your dedication to your studies, and like you want to be an honors student or graduate with something. And like, I'm not going to graduate with top honors, maybe second level honors. But then I'm like, oh my God, if I get a B, that might put my honors graduation in jeopardy. And I'm like, also, graduation means nothing. It's going to be on Zoom. And also, again, of all things to put effort in and worry myself and stress myself about, there are things that are worth it, and I'm sure my final assignments will be a lot more important and necessary for me to turn in on time and do well. But I wrote a decent paper. I hope I get a good grade on it. I will lose some points, but that's okay. Okay? And my last movie, Taxi Driver, 5 stars. I feel like these last two are like the example of like any film student dude who's like, yes, I love movies, I love The Shining, I love Kubrick, I love Scorsese, and like, so I kind of feel like that typical film bro, but also I'm like, I'm not gonna be the contrarian who's like, yeah, this classic film, hate it, 1 star. Like, if I enjoy a movie, I enjoy it. And so that is what is reflected in my ratings. So yes, Taxi Driver, 5 stars. This was also my first viewing of a classic film. This is the 1976 film directed by Martin Scorsese. I did look up the pronunciation of his last name because I mentioned it in the last episode. I think he pronounces it Scorsese. But then it's like, is that the real Italian way to say it? I don't know. So Martin Scorsese, sure. Starring Robert De Niro. And I've got to say, I was struck by how hot Robert De Niro was at this point. I had never seen any of his like early films. So like I haven't seen 70s De Niro until now. And I just did not know that he was so attractive. You may not find this character in this film attractive, which, like, of course, the character is disturbing, but De Niro, I think, is objectively attractive in this film, okay? So I enjoyed that. That definitely added to my rating here. So, yeah, like, Taxi Driver was another film where, like, especially as an ex-film student, it's like, how have you never seen Taxi Driver? It's like, I don't know. When would I just decide to watch this? Like, I don't know. I need to look into like the film bro stereotype or trope and be like, when do you guys like watch these movies? Do you just have like parents who watch these movies with you? Like, hey, son, like you might want to watch Land Before Time, but like, why not watch Taxi Driver with me? Like, I don't know. My parents never watched these movies. I didn't, and then I never felt compelled to watch them until now. And hey, I enjoyed them. So cool. So yeah, Taxi Driver is well known for, I had always heard people talk about how violent and shocking the end of the film is. And I think I had a picture in my mind of what that would be, but then it ended up being different than I expected. Like, okay, so there's like the peak of the action at the end of the film, the peak of the violence, and then there's like a bit of a twist. And so I don't want to spoil it for you, even though again, it's a 25 plus 20, a 45-year-old movie pretty much. Wow, that's wild. It's an old film, relatively speaking, so probably not too spoiler crazy, but I'm not going to ruin it for you. The ending was different than I expected. That's all. Was I pleasantly surprised? Maybe. I don't know. I liked it, the ending, I guess. And also, just noting, I have to watch a lot more Martin Scorsese films this semester, so in future episodes, you are going to continue to hear me rate these movies. I hope I continue to enjoy them, because generally, I've liked them. That's so funny. I'm like, huh, I don't know. Have you guys heard of this director? I don't know if it might be pretty low key. His name's Martin Scorsese. I don't know. He has a lot of pretty good films. You should check him out. Yeah, Scorsese. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know about him. It's kind of surprising. Like literally one of the most renowned, famous, celebrated directors. But also, is it a little bit boring to continue to celebrate the most celebrated directors? But again, as I said, I'm not going to be the one who's like, oh, these like well-known, famous male directors, they actually suck. Because like some of them I'm sure do. And some of their movies I'm sure do suck. But like, again, if I enjoy a film, I enjoy a film. We can talk about separating the art from the artist and all of those other issues sometime, but sometimes I just want to put my movie in Letterboxd and give it a rating that reflects how I felt about watching it. So, 5 stars. 5 stars, baby. All right, that is the end of this podcast for today. My voice is going, and I'm done talking, and I want to make dinner. And I've got to drink this water. I don't know if you can see it. I don't think you can. I've been self-conscious that you might be able to see in the video version how little water I have consumed during this, but that's fine. I'll drink it, I swear. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, please consider leaving a review on Apple Podcast if you would be so kind. And if you're listening on YouTube, please leave me a comment. I love validation. And also, I hope that you're feeling well and safe. And I hope you can find joy and watch comforting shows and movies. And yes, please stay tuned for our next episode of Previously Gifted. Okay, thanks. Bye.